Is it live?
Yep.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Brief at the Rational Investor. You can see me down in the bottom left corner of the screen here. This is Julian stepping in for Brian today because, as we know, Brian's on vacation, enjoying his life in the let's see, maybe I can change my little background to see where Brian might be. Hold on one second. Let's change that. Maybe Brian is on the beach somewhere, or maybe enjoying San Francisco on a trip. Currently, I'm in Alaska, the Northern Lights, as you can see. I got a green screen. It was like 500 baht, like 15 bucks. So I was like, why not? Because I'm gonna start doing some YouTube videos. So I'll be like one of those little guys in the bottom corner and like pointing at the screen. So I thought it'd be fun. So I'm going to do a 10-minute thing, and I'm just going to talk about my market stuff really quick, give you guys a quick update since I've been slacking on my Signal channel. And then we're going to have Joshua put together like a really, really nice presentation, I think. Joshua, are you here? Can you say hello really quick?
Yep, I'm here. How's everybody?
Okay.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Yeah, it's okay. So I'll just go through my stuff really quick. And then we're going to jump into Joshua's presentation. I think he has like a full PowerPoint and everything. It's very professional. So I'm even looking forward to watching it. Okay. So without further ado, why don't I just get to the charts and stop babbling about nonsense? So the biggest thing, that everybody's been watching, everyone has retirement accounts and stuff all around the world. The S&P 500 has been absolutely crazy, just sitting here for the past almost week and a half, doing almost in a way just oscillating, trying to tell people, oh, I'm a bull, I'm a bear, I'm a bull, I'm a bear. I know so many traders that are calling, that have been calling for the past 2 weeks for the market to go down. I even thought it would go down with all the terrible fundamental data coming out, but it just keeps going higher. And why is that? Well, central banks. That's the main thing. And my big lesson here that I learned, and I think a lot of people learned over the past 2 weeks, is that maybe 3 weeks. I don't know. When did they start doing this? When was the bottom? March 20th. Okay, past month. When the Fed says they're going to do anything to save the market, and governments around the world, like Bank of Japan and the European Central Bank, also say they're going to do whatever it takes to save the market, you better believe they're going to do whatever it takes, and the market's going to go up. So I think it behooves us to take that into account with any kind of trading plan. Now, you guys know that I'm not a big fan of fundamentals. I don't care about most fundamentals, but this one thing I think is like important to focus on and to pay close attention to. Ignoring this like 6 or 7 years ago hurt me back then because I ignored it. I didn't have much money back then though, so it didn't really matter. But now I have a decent amount, and I do wish like I did put almost my entire 401k in right here. And then when we bounced up here, I'm like, oh, I'm up like 8%. Okay, that's good enough. I'll take it out. It's going to roll over. It didn't roll over. It kept going up. And I'm like, oh, here I am again on the sidelines while the market is up. But I still think we can make a bear case. I think this market is trying its very best to fool people to go long, and then it will roll over. It just feels like it has to. Now, if we breach 3,000, then I'm going to go full bull myself. But until that happens, I'm kind of bearish. Like it's interesting. I marked, the fibs from the top of this rally to the bottom, and we're just starting to hit, basically the short reload zone. 61.8 is right here at 29.27, and look where we moved up to, and look where the bottom of my Keltner channel is. It's right there. We just went to the bottom of my Keltner channel and to this basically almost to the first stop in the reload zone. You can see we've got the 50-day moving average here. And the 50-day moving average is a really good moving average to use to help you determine trend. You can see, so is my RSI and my VIP line stuff. And you can see we've just been hovering around this center area, which tells me, okay, the market's indecisive. We don't have a direction right now. And that's why, ever since I got stopped out on my last S&P 500 short, I haven't, I took one down here and I closed it about here. So I made a small profit. I forgot to update my signal room, unfortunately. But I did make a nice profit on that. Let me see if I can, while that's loading, I'll keep talking, but I can show you guys the profit. Uh, what I want to talk about is that this is at like a serious inflection point. And I think this rejection here. So first we had this 9 here, and then I thought it was going to roll over, but it bounced right off the 50% level, which makes sense. And now this is really interesting that a possible like doji is forming, which you guys know is indication of a potential trend change. So it's going to be very important what happens today. And I think it's also important to notice that we have this. Let me fix this. Hold on, so you guys can see better. Let's like just get this out of the way so you can just see the volume. So volume has steadily been declining. And for me, when I see volumes declining like this, I think the rally is exhausting. If volume is increasing down in a rally, it tells me we're going to have a bit of a jump. You can see back here, volume as we were coming down was increasing. At the top right here, it was basically the bottom. And now volume, for me, volume only works to help me find bottoms. It's not as great at finding tops, but I do find that declining volume means there is going to be declining price action generally to the upside, while declining volume also to the downside means we've got more down to go. While increasing volume I never realized like how much my hands maybe help. You guys give me feedback later after this if my hand signals like really help with the video. And I've got to hurry up because Joshua's got like a 40-minute presentation. So I'm sorry I'm babbling, but increasing volume helps you get a bottom. So this was where the first like nice bottom was. You saw 8 and 9 came in and volume started to taper off as we rallied back up. And so we had this taper off and then we had a rollover again. And then we had no real volume increase until basically the bottom here. And then you got, look at that volume increase, boom, volume increase and take off. And then you got steady volume decline again. And this would be a perfect M top point. I don't believe that they're going to make it this easy. I can't believe that they will, but it's possible. So let's go to the 4-hour chart and see if we can find anything out. For me, this 4-hour chart is still like very bullish. I need to see a serious breakdown of this line here on the RSI. This is kind of my line in the sand right here. I need to see a break through the VIP and a rollover to consider shorts again. I tried shorting this twice, got burned. Well, once I made a profit, once I got burned. But I'm afraid to short it again. I don't want to get burned again. I want to be sure. So I'm waiting. And I think, you don't want to try to be like a hero here. Just wait until your short signal's fired. Don't try to buy like at the top or something. Just stick to your trading plan. This is not an easy market to trade at all. This is one of the hardest markets to trade that I've seen in almost a year. That's kind of my thinking. I need to see the MACD roll over. It's still kind of bullish. I think on the daily it's bullish too. Yeah, so MACD is like super bullish. You're not going to get massive decline until we see this turning red here. And you guys might have noticed I updated my MACD to be, instead of just being like, it was like purplish before, but now I made it like green when it turns positive, red when it goes negative, just because it looks nicer and it's easier for me to see. It made a big difference to me on what I pay attention to. So something to keep in mind. I found that green and red in your indicators really help when things cross over. Maybe I'll do that with the RSI. I might change the RSI that like when it's above the VIP line, it's green. When it's below, it'll be red. Since I do have the source code for this. Yep, I have the source code. So I think I can update it. Okay, so that's kind of my thinking on the S&P. We're at an inflection point. If we close down here, that would symbolize to me, the market's getting ready to roll over. I do think it is. I'm getting a lot of signs, but I don't have confirmation. I need to see this daily kind of roll over before I can decide to short again. Okay, so I was going to talk about Tesla, but I'm going to skip that. And it's similar to the S&P. If the S&P rolls over, Tesla probably will too, and all that nonsense. I wanted to look at the dollar index. So it's basically just fluctuating here. There's no real direction. We did have an 8, which caused it to roll over on the daily, but it's really just sitting here. I think we're not going to get a huge move in the dollar. I don't see any huge move in the near term. I can look at the weekly and try to see if we can glean something from that. It definitely is in like a bullish uptrend. I mean, it's staying above my Keltner channel. It's been above for a while, and you can see it did try to break out here, but then it kind of came back under the downtrend line. And you can, let's see if I have any kind of line here I can draw. I can draw something like that. So maybe we're stuck in a range and we're going to break out one way or the other. Right now, the MACD is positive, and the RSI is semi-positive because it is above our VIP line, but it's still stuck in like this RSI triangle. We'll see what happens over the next 3 weeks. I read some reports, people saying that there's huge dollar demand, and if we roll over, I do see this going higher. Of course, people are going to jump into dollars, get back out of stocks. And by the way, another case for the stock market rolling over is if you look at the Fed's asset purchase program is massively declined in the past 2 weeks. I think they were at like 75 billion, or what was it, 75 billion or 75 million a day. Does anyone know? Let me check the hangout. Does anyone know? Was it 75 million or 75? Look, Fed asset. Let's see. Fed asset purchase program. Open-ended QE. What were they doing? How much? Okay, I don't know. You guys can look it up. It was 75 something, 75 billion or 75 million. I think it's 75 billion. 75 million sounds too little to me. I think it was definitely 75 billion. Yeah, okay, that's right, Peter. So I think 75 billion, and it's been declining. And I think I just read today it's down to 10 billion only. So they're not supporting the market like they were before when it was going down a lot. And that maybe that's why the Bank of Japan came out and said, okay, we're going to purchase a bunch now too. And that caused a bit of the rally, but it's not the same as the Federal Reserve. I think the Federal Reserve is quite a bigger beast than the Bank of Japan, with more influence on the markets. So that is another bear case for the S&P. I wanted to talk about gold really quick. So gold's putting in this M top here. I see an M top coming in. You had your 8 and 9 hit, and now we're kind of rolling over. We're stuck kind of in this this kind of like triangular view. You can see that I had this RSI line and this one. It broke down through both of them. It's still technically in a bullish trend because it's above the VIP, but look at the MACD. We just crossed down through the 0 line. That's not good. I don't like to see that if I'm a bull on gold. I'm going to jump down to the 4 hour. You can see it had this breakdown here, breakdown here, and then you got your other trend line and your breakdown. We went back up to basically the highs from here, and we rolled over, and then we hit an 8 and a 9, which caused the bounce, along with, general support here. And now we're just having like a small bounce we went up to the 50% level on the top of the Kellner channel, and now it's kind of fighting with this level. The problem I have is that volume again is declining. We're having a bit of a volume decline, although there is decent volume today. This is decent volume. If this volume pushes up more, I could feel more bullish about feel more bullish about the gold case. But the 4 hour is negative on the MACD. We've got negative on the RSI OBV, and we've got negative RSI below the VIP line. So I could make cases either way. Right now, I am thinking let's check the daily again. What do I think? I think that if we draw this right here like that, I'm leaning bearish over bullish simply because of this pattern that's coming in, and because gold's rallied so much that it could use a pullback. And maybe it'll follow the rest of the market. Maybe the market will roll over, and then we get the margin calls and everything. People need to sell their huge gold gains to pay for their losses in the stocks. It's very possible. I would be cautious here with gold because the trend is changing. You always need to be cautious when there's a trend change. When the trend is clear, go hog wild in that direction. When the trend is changing, that's when you need to be very cautious. Now, if you're a range trader, when the trend is changing like this and you get a breakdown, that's when you can make a lot of money on the swings up and down. I actually was scalping gold today, and I made I was trading 2 lots at a time, and I made right now I'm at about 3,500 in profits for the day, just swing trading some gold. I wasn't even like super serious about it. I was just trading off like the 1 hour and 15 minute charts, just testing something that I've been a different trading strategy that I'm messing with. Not my longer term 4 hour and daily. That's more of like a serious trading strategy. So it was kind of me just, I got this green screen and stuff, so I was playing around with that, and I was also sometimes I like to take trades while I'm working on something, and I just set some alerts, and it goes off. If it works, it goes off, and I get my alert. Okay, you hit your profit target, or it doesn't work, and I get stopped out. But today was a good day. I think I had one trade wrong, and I only lost like 300 because I set a really tight stop. But all the rest did great, and really it was only one trade that made the big profit. Just so you guys know. Where it was a short and gold really rolled over, and then I sold basically at the bottom, and I made $2,000 profit. So that was nice. Let's see, 4 hour. Yeah, so gold can touch this trend line and then roll over, or it can move higher. I really think because we're in kind of this consolidation area, it's difficult to say where gold is going to go next. So I would keep your eye on it. And if you're a big bull, I'd be careful, because if it's going to roll over, this is the point where it's going to roll over. And if it doesn't, we'll move higher. But maybe that happens, in 2 days or 3 days. I'll be on Thursday, so I can talk about it then. Let's see, what else do I have? Oil. So oil is interesting. Oil had this big breakdown, then it had another breakdown. I think I was trying to see if this ABCD worked here, but it didn't work because it's like this massive. It's just like boom. Okay, so I'm going to delete that. But you can see here, oil hit an 8 and 9 on the daily on the TD mark. That always symbols. Hence, we got the little bounce, and then we rolled over. Now, are we making our W bottom? It's definitely possible. Is there massive fear in the oil market? Yes. Do you want to be long oil? I'm not sure. That's a dangerous play right now, as you guys know, and as all the media is talking about. But when the media is very bearish like this, that's when you want to think about, oh my God, should I be buying? Is this a buying opportunity? And what I'm seeing is potential divergence. I mean, look at this MACD. Boom, boom. This is like mess here. I would still be cautious. I'm not buying yet. I'm waiting. We do have this breakout of this downtrend, but when RSI is below VIP line, to me, that's still in a downtrend. It's still going to go down. Maybe it goes down at a slower rate, but it's still probably going to go down. It could bounce, but you're not going to get a big bounce till it gets above this daily. Well, I shouldn't say that. I have seen big bounces while you're still below, but it is risky. I don't really like taking things until the daily moves above and we establish a new bull trend. But if you're trying to catch bottoms, I mean, this isn't a bad area. You could buy right here and set your stop right here. This is WTI USD, West Texas oil. You could buy here and set your stop right below 11. And that's a decent trade. You basically only move down one. Essentially, it would be 1 point in oil, or you could move up potentially, 25 points. The fundamental case is not good right now. But at the same time, the U.S. is opening back up. There are markets that are opening back up, but at the same time, there's other places that aren't opening back up. So demand on oil is wishy-washy. So I think sitting down here kind of makes sense. But there is a lot of fear-mongering going on. We can go to the 4 hour and kind of, maybe I draw an RSI trend line like this, and that's kind of your trend line. And if we get a breakout here, that might be like your bullish case. If we can get a breakout. And you can see MACD is trying to like push up here, and we've got divergence coming in. And my RSI OBV, if I saw a 4 hour RSI OBV like this on gold, I would be very bullish. I would get long gold almost immediately. Just looking at this is making me think, do I want to buy some oil here? Could this be a decent trade? So that's my thinking on oil. Just be careful. I think I burned up already 20 minutes, and I think Josh needs the time. I was going to talk about Bitcoin, but let me talk about Bitcoin really, really fast. I'll do it in 2 minutes, and then I will hand the floor over to Josh, because I didn't. I actually didn't know that Josh was coming on today, so I just jumped in because Brian was away. But Josh is here, and he has an amazing presentation, so I don't want to take up too much more time. Just so you know, on the daily for me, Bitcoin is still in a nice uptrend. MACD is slowly putting in a bit of a divergence here, so we want to be careful. We could potentially be topping out. But until this daily RSI trend line breaks down, I am not really going to be bearish on Bitcoin. I'm still holding my longs. I'm not hedged in any of my accounts, and everything's just heading higher nicely. I don't like to trade Bitcoin on lower time frames. Even 4 hours sometimes for me is too fast. But even the 4-hour looks good with RSI. The RSI OBV is kind of falling off, and so is MACD. So that has me concerned. And we did hit an 8 and a 9. But I want to see that daily kind of roll over before I get too bearish. Anyway, that's my presentation. Hopefully that helped you. Without any further ado, I think, Joshua, we are ready anytime for your presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Julian. That was good.
I'm gonna turn off my screen sharing now. Bye, guys.
And see you, bud. And your homework is to go watch all the Wayne's World videos just so you can get my
yeah, I'll do that.
Funny jokes. That's funny. All right, let's go here. All righty. All right, everybody can see my screen. That look good, Kevin?
Yeah, you're good. All good.
All right. So Brian asked me a couple weeks ago, actually, to put something together for kind of like a PMA series. The good news is that I got laid off from my job 2 weeks ago now, so I might have some more time to do, to actually build out the presentation for like a once a month thing. So this is going to be kind of my attempt, similar to what Brian did with kind of distilling his 30 years of knowledge into a level 1, 2, and 3. For me, this is about 12 years on my personal development journey. It's definitely not exhaustive, but it's kind of like drinking from the fire hose. So there's a lot of resources in here. It's not meant to be digest all at once, but if somebody, for myself, let's say that, like, if I was to hand this to myself 15 years ago, this would be a great kind of Cliff Notes type idea on how to get up to speed in a shorter amount of time. So a little bit about my introduction to this kind of PMA, personal development topic. I was preparing for a Muay Thai fight in 2008, and a nutritionist friend of mine introduced me to some products, or cellular nutrition products, vitamins essentially, but just real high-end pharmaceutical grade. After the results I had with the product, I got involved with the company. It's a network marketing direct sales company, so they're big on sales development. So about 50% of the training was technical, with scientists and doctors learning about the products, etc., which for me, that was the primary reason I was there. But one of the things we got out of it, which I never expected, was the personal development side of things, which that is how they were able to make their direct sales force or team more effective. But a lot of the skills that you learn to be a better quote unquote salesman just means you're just a better human in general, is what I found. If this topic kind of goes over your head, you're not that interested. The one thing I'll say, the one takeaway, if you're going to get anything out of this, is similar to how Brian talks about, if you just find weekly W's in reload zones, it'll keep you out of 80-90% of trouble. If you were just to journal 3 gratitudes every day, that would be kind of my analogy for this. So if you're going to take one thing out of this whole thing, journal 3 gratitudes every day, and if you I'm sure you'll see results. So that's my challenge to everybody. If you're not doing any of this, just remember that. So there's a long list here. Again, this is just meant to be kind of resources for people to fall back on. If I had to pick one individual that I think is the shining star of all this, I mean, all these people are exceptional. It's going to be Jim Rohn. He pretty much, he was the person that inspired Tony Robbins to do what he does today. He was a leader in the field, groundbreaking at the time, but his philosophies and his perspectives on things, and just the tact that he uses to get results, for me, it resonated. So if you've never heard of Jim Rohn, check him out. Amazing human, and he's done a lot for me in this subject. There's a ton of people in here. Maybe the oldest person here is at the very bottom. Epictetus, he's a philosopher in Stoicism, so ancient Greece, essentially. A lot of the people that are in this list here and the concepts that we're going to talk about, he was talking about however long ago, ancient Greece was. So these are not new concepts. at all. It's just kind of rehashed, and it almost seems like over time with history, we forget about a lot of these things, and then it comes back to the surface, which again, we kind of see that with trading and stuff like that. Let's see here. So why is PMA important? It's like, yeah, it's a cool concept, but tell me how it's going to benefit my life or help me get the results, right? This is why we're here, is to get better. If it's a sales thing, to get better at sales. If it's trading, to get better at trading. If just you just want to be a better husband or better father, etc. These are all things that you can implement to achieve those goals. So PMA is important because for us as traders, Sir John Templeton, he said it. He's one of the most successful investors ever. He said gratitude is the secret to wealth. So again, going back to the journal 3 gratitudes daily, again, if you're only going to take one thing out of all this concept of gratitude. And the cool thing about gratitude is physiologically, our body is not able to be in a state of anxiousness and gratitude. If you're grateful and you're in that quote unquote state physiologically, that means your body, they're mutually exclusive. So if, let's say, if you're somebody that struggles with panic attacks and things like that, one of the kind of quick fixes is to close your mouth and breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth to regulate your breathing. And that'll physiologically change your state of anxiousness into a more state of calm, so to speak. So anyway, that's just one of the little tricks there. A friend of mine, he has this quote, says, your ego is not your amigo, which, I love just because it's funny, but then also it's very, very true and powerful. A lot of the times we're not even self-aware. We're not even aware of the things that we are doing and what our quote unquote ego is up to. It has mechanisms to protect itself or our body, to keep us safe. But in the world that we live today, a lot of the times that's actually like a roadblock or sabotages us on our way to try to achieve our results. So just be aware of that. Again, some quotes here by Jim Rohn. For things to change, you have to change. So it's not, oh my God, I wish that there wasn't a coronavirus going on. All these things that are outside of our control. If you want things to change, we as individuals have to take responsibility for that and ownership of it. And if that's the mindset that we have, the results will come. If we think that, oh, my life sucks because of all these external things that I have no control over, it's not my fault, blah, 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 I have no control, nothing's going to change. You're going to get the same results that you're currently getting, which is terrible. So it's just, that was one of the things when I first heard it, it was very impactful for me. Going a little bit deeper into, how the body and mind and all that works, the reticular activating system, the way that I described it, or the way that I remember it anyway, is think of like a heat-seeking missile, right? So our brain, in a way, acts like that. So if we were in a crowd of people and I said, whatever you do, do not find anybody right now wearing a red shirt, the first thing that you're going to do is look and find people wearing red shirts because of this RAS and NAC part of how our brain works. So if you understand some of these things that are going on in the background, which again, I had no knowledge of prior to 2008. This is all new to me, kind of, again, over the last 12 years. Once you just understand that there's some of these things are going on in the background, it's much easier to navigate and again, to get the results that you're after. So just understand from a brain standpoint, your brain is going to seek pleasure, and then your brain is going to try to make you avoid the most pain possible. That is at the very, very core level, that is our purpose. Seek pleasure, avoid pain. Very simple. And then going further on the topic of thought and things like that, there's the conscious mind, the subconscious, and the superconscious. So the superconscious is something I had no idea about, again, prior to all of this. The superconscious is something we'll talk about a little bit later in the presentation, but Albert Einstein would do these thought experiments, and that's how he actually came up with a lot of his theories and inventions and things like that. So he was actually, I think, an expert in quieting the mind, quieting the conscious, quieting the subconscious, and then being able to tap into this super conscious. So some people call it intuition, a gut feel. I like to call it human Wi-Fi. So it's like, how does somebody know about something that, they theoretically shouldn't, right? And then understand that your belief systems and your blueprints, they are going to determine the direction of your life and your attitude. And that's the whole PMA thing. That's going to be the fuel or the gas for that. So you might say, well, what is a belief system? A belief system would be if somebody says, in order to be quote unquote beautiful, I have to be skinny. And skinny means under a certain number. It doesn't mean fit, it doesn't mean anything like that. It's something that's been conditioned in their mind, probably by an abusive parent, most likely. Most of the bullshit that we have that we carry into life as an adult is directly related to, our mother and father, or lack thereof, right? So just understand that these belief systems, you might not even put them in there, but they're embedded into who you are and who you think that you should be. So here's another huge kind of eye opener for me when I first saw this thing about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And the thing that really jumped out to me was that, obviously there's layers to it, right? There's a foundation. It starts with the physiological, similar how we're talking about gratitude and anxiety and breathing and things like that. It starts with the body. So if you're feeling like shit, if you go out and do some push-ups or exercise, some intense exercise, that will shake up your entire physiological setup at that time. Also will release natural endorphins, which make you feel better, right? So just again, the body is the foundation for all of this. But with this, I noticed that there's a lot of people in this world that don't have the first two, the physiological and the safety levels met. Like they're still struggling with that. And I'm like, well, that makes complete sense why people aren't able to be self-actualized. And why do people act like dickheads? It's like, well, they probably don't have, 1, 2, 3, and 4 levels sorted out yet. They're still working on levels 1 and 2. And again, even when, so all of us in engineering a couple weeks ago, we got our hours reduced to 1 day a week. So I totally felt the safety stuff. Like it shook me up for about 1 or 2 days. I let myself feel like shit and then kind of shook it off. But I mean, man, if you're feeling a financial stress or financial burden, it's going to affect, how loving you are to your family, the esteem that you have on yourself, and then, forget about being self-actualized. It's just not going to be possible. So this was a huge, eye opener for me and made a lot of sense anyway. So again, just understanding that as human organisms, it starts with the physical, and then everything will work towards this kind of mental or consciousness or whatever you want to call it, or being a good person, right? Being a good member of society. And there's a lot going on here with the whole personal development concept. And the analogy I like to use is it's how do you eat an elephant? It's just one bite at a time. So if you just commit to daily, small, but consistent actions and you don't give up, you will make progress. And that right there, that quote is, true in my life. And there's been a handful of things where that's resonated and helped me be successful. But when I got my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, that quote right there, that's how you become a black belt. That's how you become excellent in anything, is just don't give up and be consistent with it. It doesn't have to be a ton of action, but just small, consistent actions over time, and you'll get there. And progress equals happiness. And I love this quote by Tony Robbins. So you're, the whole how do you eat an elephant concept. It's, well, as long as you're making progress on it. So even if you're not where you want to be yet, if you're just on the road, if you're improving, if you're making progress, you're going to love it and you're going to feel alive. And I think in my life, it's been a fact. So again, going back to, why should we give a crap about personal development? Why should we care about PMA? We're here to learn how to trade. And this is one of the major areas I think that gets overlooked. Now, not with Brian, because he's really good about staying on top of the whole mindset thing. And I think Dr. Mineker was his name over at Top Step. And then also Hogue was big on PMA. So there's a lot of very qualified people in addition to Brian. I mean, Sir John Templeton's another one, right? Which is crazy, but excuse me. But they know that the setups, like learning how to use MACD, like learning how to use fibs, learning structure in candle patterns, and etc. Like that's really the easy part of trading. The hard part is mastering our emotions, us following our plan, all of those things that, again, Brian and a school program does a very, very good job of stressing the importance of. So if we're here purely for results, to be able to be extremely successful, or as successful as we need in trading, there's a thing that, again, I took from a live event that I went to with Tony Robbins. It's called RPM. Stands for result, purpose, and massive action. So that's the RPM. So the result is the result that we're after. Like, what are we trying to achieve with this? So that's the planning part. And that planning could be strategic and tactical. Again, going back to level 1, we kind of talk about that. So the next step is the purpose, and that's the why. Why is this result important to you? And it shouldn't be, I just want to get rich. It shouldn't be vague. It needs to be a very specific, purpose or result that you're after. But why do you want that result? It's, let's say I want to make $200 million, but the reason I want to make that $200 million is because I want to fund autism awareness, or funding for group homes to bless these people that aren't in a position like Liam is, right? Where we can help take care of people that really could benefit from it, right? So if that's your why, you're going to work your ass off to achieve it, versus just saying, I just want to be rich so I can, whatever, so the why is extremely important, right? And then the secret to all this is hard work, right? If you take massive action, if you have a plan and you have a reason why you want to do it, if you put in the hard work, you're going to get there. One thing that I do notice is that people give up. They say, "Oh, I'm killing myself here." When you're tired, do 7 times more than that. That's my little, at least that's what I tell myself, and that's why, same thing with the whole Pine Script journey I've been on since December, right? This is what I implemented to get up to speed today. So in 5 months, built that algo and everything. So just take massive action. So understand that 80% of success is why based, and then the 20% is how. And again, this goes back to Dr. Mineker at Top Step and Hogue and those guys. If you understand that if you actually want to be successful, really, you need to be self-aware. You need to know, be in control of your emotions, understands what's driving you and what your passions are. And then the 20% of it is how, and those are, and from a trading standpoint, that's the trade setup. And there's a million setups out there, and all of them are good enough to, not all of them, but enough of them are good enough to give us that edge. So if we were to focus on any one side of it, understand that 80% of is why related. And then there's a cool video link in here. I'm not going to play it for you guys here, but at just after 6 minutes in, Jocko, who I love his mindset, it's, it works for me anyway. He just says, make your list and do those things. So if you want to be a kick-ass trader, make your list of the things that you need to do to be a kick-ass trader, and do those things, and don't do other things that hinder you. I just think it's extremely straightforward and well said. And then again, just to kind of reiterate the power of the why, because that is going to be, if you want to be successful at this is going to be like one of the top core components of all that. So the purpose is stronger than the outcome. So the same thing, if you want $1 million, but great, like, why do you want that $1 million? If there's a powerful why behind it, it's just going to fuel you that much faster to your goal. So if you, again, I try to, when I was writing this, I was like, all right, if I wanted to give myself, 15, 20 years ago, kind of these clip notes or this presentation, and be like, all right, cool. here's the distilled version for this whole kind of concept. The first thing that we're going to need to do is take a personal inventory, evaluate ourselves, and be honest. Don't be overly critical, but be honest. So I know some people, like with their physical appearance, they're overly critical on themselves. It's like, that's not helping you. We just need to live in the truth, no matter how good or bad it is. Don't tell yourself it's better than it is. Don't tell yourself it's worse than it is. Just be honest with yourself, right? So this wheel of life, I like to do this at least once a year and just kind of have a look at it. I actually have next to my computer where my cheat sheets are, like the candlesticks and all that kind of stuff and harmonic patterns. I actually have my last wheel of life that I drew up, and it just visually will show you the areas that you're strong in, but then the areas that you're weaker in. So the goal is to make, just like a wheel that goes down the road, it needs to be completely circular. If it's a little wonky and lopsided, it's not gonna roll so well. So the idea with this is to get, let's say that you're on a level 7 is your highest and a level 2 is your lowest. Get all those level 2s, get everything up to a level 7, so that it's a whole complete quote unquote wheel, right, of life. So evaluate where you are today, and then find those areas where you do want more. And again, remember that your brain is seeking pleasure and avoiding pain. So if you combine both of those, it's incredibly powerful motivator, right? Again, get inspired. The power of your why. That's what's going to keep you pushing forward when you're having a shit time at it. When things are tough, you're tired, you're getting beaten up, nothing's working, but you still keep moving forward. You still keep taking bites of that elephant, right? That I'll go back to that analogy again because it works for me. But as long as you have that, and it's got to be powerful, because if it's not, you're going to quit, because it's not going to be worth it. But if the pain is worth it, then you'll keep pushing through. So the next thing I would say is, so find that area that you want to be better at. So I'll just use health and wellness as an example. It's like, all right, what are 2 or 3 new beliefs that I would have to have in order to be more successful in this area? And my suggestion is just go find somebody. So if it's health and wellness, find somebody like a Jocko who, let's say today I wake up at 7 a.m., but one of my new 2 or 3 beliefs will be that waking up at 4:30 in the morning to train is what I need to do in order for me to achieve my goal. So that's one of those new beliefs that I'd have to implement to improve that area of health and wellness. From there, I'd say find a mentor and a coach, similar to us finding Brian and TRI to learn about trading and to run a small business of trading. So you need to seek out an SME, which is a subject matter expert. And what you can do is you can learn from them. So if you want to be a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, go find a high-level black belt and bust your ass every day. And in time, you'll get there. Same thing, if you want to be an amazing trader, find somebody like Brian that can distill 30 years of knowledge and experience into about a year and a half. And instead of you spending 30 years to figure it all out on your own, which he did, we only spend a year and a half, and we get up to speed pretty quickly. So get a good mentor, get a good coach, and periodically cycle through this list. Just to keep yourself accountable and see where you're at. So this topic is fairly new. So I've been kind of going through this journey for 12 years, but the power of the mind and the conscious, subconscious, and the superconscious, that was one of those things that was way over my head, and I only recently started to understand a little bit more and more about it. Again, just go research some of Albert Einstein's thought experiments, and it'll blow your mind. The thing with him is, we think that he was exceptional and more than human. I think the thing that we're going to find over time is more science and data comes on this topic, right? Is that there's this concept of the singularity of consciousness. And what that kind of says is that all the information in the entire universe already exists. And people like Albert Einstein figured out a way to actually quiet their conscious and subconscious and actually tap into the superconscious. And again, this is very esoteric, but I will say that there is science and data showing this, but I just don't think that, at least for me, I don't fully understand it yet. So I don't want to try to pretend like I'm an expert. I just have seen that some of this has value and sharing it here. And it for sure is extremely powerful. There's a cool movie on Netflix called Heal. Then there's one part of it. It talks about the placebo versus nocebo. So what the nocebo is actually when people use their imagination to worry about future events that haven't happened, right? So the placebo effect is positive. The nocebo is actually a negative use of your imagination. So the placebo effect is a scientific fact. We know that. So just being aware of this. If you find yourself sitting and using your imagination to visualize all the bad shit that could potentially happen to you, you're working against yourself. And I think, what was it? G.I. Joe says, knowing is half the battle. As long as you're aware of these things, that's half the battle right there. It's what I find people get in, and even myself, we get into a trap of when we're not even being aware of what we're doing, and it just kind of starts to snowball and gets out of hand. There's a cool link here that for my Dropbox. It's a visualization exercise from one of the live events that I did. This was very eye-opening, to say the least. But if you think this is all kind of very much woo and way, way esoteric, when I was going through the harmonics and vetting my harmonic 3-step setup, I did this every single day. And one of my goals that I visualized was getting a win rate of 77%. At the end of that 21 days, like I said, my win rate got up to 78%. And maybe that's coincidental, but then again, maybe not. So if you want, it's like a 15-20 minute kind of like meditation type relaxation thing. I typically do it after lunch, just to give me energy for the Asia Open. But anyway, I'm going to leave that link there. If you're interested in it, check it out. I challenge you to do it for 21 days and to have a result that you're after. And since it's TRI, make it, I think, trade result wise would be great because it's measurable, and see if it doesn't help you out. So these are just kind of, again, more of a reference. When I pass away, like my purpose, things that I want when I die is I don't want to have any regrets, ideally. And these are some of the words that I want people to use to describe me. So I'm constantly looking at these. The first group there: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Those are the fruits of the spirit, and that actually comes from the Bible. The Bushido Code, so the 7 virtues of the samurai: justice, courage, benevolence, which is charity, respect, honor, honesty, and loyalty. There's a lot of overlapping there. Again, a lot of these concepts, there's a lot of overlap. And, just like a good trade is a good trade is a good trade, a good PMA concept is a, good PMA concept. So again, these are just some words that mean a lot to me. So like with the whole COVID thing, and this primarily is words from Jim Rohn. It says, remember, it's not the blowing of the wind that determines your fortune and success. It's the setting of the sail. So what that means is that, like for COVID, like COVID would be the blowing of the wind, or a terrible economy is the blowing in the wind. It's like, okay, fair enough. Times are tough right now, but how are we going to respond? Are we going to tact like a sailboat would in unfavorable wind, but still be making progress to our goal? Are we going to rip the sails down and just be blown around by the wind and have no control whatsoever and be, just give up essentially? Are we going to keep the sail up and really get blown out of the way? It's like, let's be tactful. So if times are tough, adjust the sail to still, be doing everything that you can be doing to get to where you want to be. So it's up to us as individuals to set the sail of our own thinking that benefits us the most. It's not what happens that causes our outcomes. What happens to everybody. It's how we respond that determines the outcome. And I thought this was great. So I forget what major enterprise brought Jim Rohn in. I think it was one of the larger banks back in like the late 70s or something. But Jim Rohn says, he's like, guys, I can tell you what the forecast for the next 10 years is going to be. He says it's going to be opportunity mixed with difficulty. And I think if you have that attitude, it just makes times like we're living in right now. It's like, yeah, there's, for me, and millions of other people, there's economic hardship because we lost our jobs, right? Through all this. These economic hardships are going to domino effect and cause even more economic hardships in the next 1 to 2 years, most likely, unless the Fed just keeps printing a crazy amount of money and just stocks just keep going up, which is totally possible, I suppose. But as long as we understand that under no circumstances should we ever give up on our goals and dreams. If we have that attitude of never give up, and we have a reason why we want to achieve those goals that we've kind of laid out, then it's just a matter of time before you can achieve them. So yeah, thank you very much for listening.
Awesome, Joshua. That was great. Dude's the man.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, we have a couple minutes, yeah? If anything wasn't clear or...
I always keep a gratitude journal, actually. So
do you really?
Yeah, I try to. I mean, I'm not going to say I do it every day, even though my goal is to, and my intention is to. But I do it most days. I try to write down 3 things. I try to keep it like simple. I don't go for like lofty, crazy, life-changing
I found it, as long as you journal and it's just a quick little one-liner here and there, that's enough to kind of focus your direction mentally for that, at least for that short amount of time, at least the first part of the day.
Totally. Yeah, I actually made mine today and I just actually made it all about TRI because I knew you were doing this report.
Very cool.
So I could actually share them really quick if anybody cares. But
yeah, go for it.
I mean, they're simple. I'll just share them right now from my journal. Let's see. I'm grateful for the TRI community and everyone who has offered to help with the daily brief this week while Brian is gone. Also that Brian has gotten a chance to take a vacation and unplug from trading for a week.
Nice.
Let's see. Also for TRI's focus on education and learning and being committed to helping anyone with the tools and knowledge they need to develop as a trader. I'm thankful and fortunate for what I've learned here and that these skills will be with me for the rest of my life. And then finally, for the opportunity to be part of TRI and this whole experience for the last 3+ years. Being here every day keeps me in the conversation, and I'm constantly learning new things and expanding my perspective on trading and personal development. So yeah, those are my TRI gratefulness journal today.
Epic. Good ones.
Anyhow.
Very cool. Yeah, Artem had a question. He says, what are your thoughts on having virtual mentors, like authors or people you don't actually talk to? Yeah, so for me, that's part of what I do. So when I'm doing some of my trade prep and planning my trades, I'll actually leave personal development or audiobooks or stuff running in the background. And I mean, there's a ton of value in that, Artem. Doesn't have to be an in-person one like Brian. Obviously, some concepts, I think, for example, I'll just use jujitsu. For jujitsu, you're going to need somebody physical there in front of you. I think there's more value in that. But for a lot of these concepts, a virtual mentor, reading a book, whatever, is, as long as you can get the information and you put the information into practice, then that's fantastic. Let's see. Cole asked how many years for my black belt. I started training in 2006. Let's see. My certificate here is 2017. So 11 years. So 11 years and many broken bones later. So yeah, looks like that's all the questions there.
Cool.
Yeah, there you go.
Alrighty, well that was great, Joshua, man. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, I hope you guys got a lot out of that.
Oh, and
any questions, just PM me, everybody on the site, and I'll go ahead and post the link to this presentation in the lounge. That way you guys can grab all those various links and stuff that I put in there for you guys.
Cool. That's what I was just gonna ask. So
okay, epic. Yeah, I'll do that in a minute.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. I guess we'll call it a day.
Awesome. Thanks, Julian. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah. Take care. Bye, guys.
Cheers. Bye.